before Rocks, before Roger, before Luffy, it was Dragon's Haki that rebelled against the Celestials in God Valley.
What?
Monkey Deadbeat Dragon learned a very different lesson in God Valley. Shanks' mother, whose face is still hidden, begs him to make sure her 2 kids aren't raised by Garling. She wants them to be raised by someone with a warm heart. To Dragon, she is a complete stranger, but his sense of justice can't let him just stand idly by. If he can't even help a dying mother and her 2 kids, he doesn't deserve to stand there calling himself a Marine. Dragon is influenced by not what is taught to the Marines and the propaganda about the Celestials being gods, but instead through his father Garp's justice and likely even his mother, having one of the strongest weapons a man can have: critical thinking. We then cut back to Mr. Deadbeat. Dragon is horrified at seeing all the death around him. Bro is shaking and almost throws up. However, he is having a moral dilemma. If he tries to save a civilian going against the Celestials game, then he is openly against the world government. This would cause his whole squad to be wiped out. Something interesting here though is that Dragon doesn't say him and his whole squad, which could be evidence that Dragon has celestial blood. He is unique in the Marine hierarchy compared to other soldiers. It could also be due to his father being Garp, but at this point, Garp is just a strong vice admiral. His clout with the Marines only increased to hero status after God Valley. Another possibility could also be that Dragon doesn't really care about his own life. If it means saving others, he would throw that away in an instant. But he doesn't have the stomach to cause trouble for his Marine friends. Furthermore, when the captain asks if everyone has left the island and gone back to the ship, one of the soldiers lies to his superior that they have, although he knows Dragon is still on the island. This shows that Dragon has respect and even friends within his platoon. This lie could also be the reason Dragon was allowed to leave the Marines, as in this chaos of God Valley, he was assumed dead until he rose up to create the Freedom Fighters years later, because in the next page, bro literally shoots a celestial dragon that's about to kill Kuma and Ivankov. He notices that there are still people who have hope and plan to leave God Valley. It's instinct that drives him to save the innocents. This is the moment of no return for Dragon. He stopped thinking logically in that moment. The only thing guiding him was what he felt was right, and the Celestials are clearly in the wrong. This crime would never be forgiven. Even if the bullet was a tranquilizer dart, Dragon lifted his weapon against the gods, so he had to leave the Marines after God Valley. Meanwhile, Dragon seems to have found Shanks and Shamrock and is running away with them, mentioning how both of them aren't crying even though all of the devastation that is surrounded them, which made my mind jump to the chapter of Nami's flashback, where when Bellamere finds her, she was also an infant who wasn't crying, instead smiling, uncaring of all the bad that was around her. She and the kids in One Piece usually represent innocence and a hope for future, that the sins of the past and the parents won't pass on to them. They are a symbol of hope for a better world. But with Shanks and Shamrock smiling similar to Nami, it gives more strength to our balls deep theory about Nami having celestial blood. Now, the reason Blackbeard was traumatized earlier in the chapter is because he's older than Shanks and Shamrock. These two are barely a year old, while Blackbeard is over 2 years old. So his mind is more observant and outside factors can influence him even more. Plus, Shanks got guidance from Roger, while Blackbeard was found as an orphan by Whitebeard 10 years later. No one was there to guide him in his formative years. Furthermore, with Dragon taking the kids of Garling, I believe that he will come face to face against him. They are destined for a matchup as shown by the double spread for the final war in chapter 1121. Both Dragon and Garling are diagonally opposed in the artwork, with their beef starting right here at God Valley. However, as much as I love my goat, I gotta be honest here, okay? Dragon is just way too weak here. Bro doesn't even get his devil fruit until he puts Shanks in the treasure chest. So I think that Garling takes Shamrock, but before he can grab onto Shanks, Whitebeard shows up up to fight him, allowing for Dragon's escape. That's why, you know, Whitebeard, when he meets Shanks, is like, damn, looking at you makes my scar ache, because, you know, they had a beef in God Valley. That's how Whitebeard got his scar. Anyways, while the Celestials run to the center of the island on the eastern shore, Roger's ship arrives as well. And this dude, Roger, gets tripped up by Scopper Gabam because he wants to be the one to save Shaki. For it's every man for himself, bro. He wants to get to the Huz first. This is crazy. Hearing the commotion of two legendary pirate crews, Garling assembles the God's Knight, where we see two more new God's Knights members, a baddie with Oni horns and a Yeti-looking big monster knight. These two might be matched up against Big Mom and Kaido. As things look bleak for the Marines though, Monkey D. Garp also makes landfall with a whole-ass meteor fist, throwing cannonballs left and right. Big Man Garp's haki makes both Roger and Zebek on opposite ends of the island notice his arrival. And honestly, with Garp's arrival, I would love to see Garp and Dragon meet up and have like a little conversation, or like they just give each other a nod while Dragon is saving these infants. Like, Garp approves of this. You know, that'd be so freaking cool. I need Dragon and Garp interaction, guys. Like, that's one of my dreams of God Valley. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and get some gamer subs, guys. Helps us out a lot.